I am a member of the Labour Party and I ought to have the right to my name to go forward for selection.
And you feel it's unfair that you don't have that right?
It's extremely unfair. It's never happened before at any stage that the Labour Party has decided that somebody is ineligible before a selection process even begins. What kind of democracy is that?
Before you go, Jeremy, I must ask whether you're planning on standing as an independent candidate in Islington North at the next election.
I am available for the service of the people of Islington North.
So you are standing as an independent
I'm
candidate?
available for the service of the people of Islington North. I love representing the area and I want to be happy to continue representing the people of Islington North, obviously, if they wish it.
So you have a desire to continue if
Of
your
course, I have a desire to
constituents wish it.
continue, and I think I've
How do you measure
made
that? How do you measure
Huh?
that? How do you measure that? How do you work out if there's an appetite for that?
Well, I live in the area, I represent the area, I talk to vast numbers of people in the area, and a lot of people are very unhappy at the lack of democracy and transparency in the selection process of the Labour Party at the present time.
So you feel that you've got enough support?
Listen, I am very happy to represent the area and let the people make their choice.
Look, in the last 6 months, Jewish people are rejoining Labour, including Luciana Berger. She left the party 4 years ago because of concerns about anti-Semitism. There are suggestions that she may be the Labour candidate in Islington North, a Labour candidate to stand against you if you are an independent candidate in that constituency. How confident are you of keeping your seat?
Listen, let's be clear about this. Anti-Semitism is evil within our society, and I've made that very clear all of my life, and I will make that clear for the rest of my life as well. And I think we can all be united on that. Whoever is put forward is put forward. But actually, I am a member of the Labour Party, and I ought to have the right to my name to go forward for selection.
And you feel it's unfair that you don't have that right?
It's extremely unfair. It's never happened before at any stage that the Labour Party has decided that somebody is ineligible before a selection process even begins. What kind of democracy is that?
Why do you think so many people, Jewish people, have rejoined Labour since you were deselected?
There are many Jewish people who've been in the Labour Party all their lives. There are many Jewish members of Islington North Labour Party who I work very closely with and are very happy to work with all the time. I think, as I've quite clearly said, anti-Semitism is wrong in any form whatsoever. I made that clear many times, particularly when the ECHR report was produced.
And if it came to it, you'd be happy to stand against Luciana Berger?
Look, I'm a member of the Labour Party, and the Labour Party ought to allow me that opportunity to put my name forward to Labour Party members in Islington North to make that choice. That has been made very clear by the delegate body of Islington North Party as well. And a happy third birthday to Timesradio.
Thank you very much. I shall scoff a slice of cake later in your honour. What do you make? What do you make of the ruling today? You've said Suella Braverman's dream of sending asylum seekers to Rwanda is dead, but it's not really, is it? We know that this is a technicality that's been ruled on today.
It's a very strange way to describe a policy that's been proved to be illegal. Indeed, she herself and her predecessor have both accepted that the bill contravenes the law of this country, which of course is dependent on the European Court of Human Rights ruling. So we've had one ruling already, which was an interim judgment by the European Court of Human Rights. We've now had a ruling from the High Court in this country, and the government is going to appeal that to the Supreme Court. But I think they should just look for a minute at what the whole issue is. We are about to try and, if the government has its way, deport people to Rwanda because they've sought asylum in this country. There is nothing illegal about seeking asylum. It is a right that's there in the 1951 Geneva Convention. And I think we should accept that, but also just understand why people seek asylum. They're desperate. Half of those that are seeking asylum in Britain come from countries that are war zones, that we've been involved in those war zones. So we have, I think, some responsibility on this. And then our treatment of asylum seekers is we expect them to survive on £5 a day and deny them the right to work, deny them the right to access to healthcare except in grave emergencies. And we ourselves are denying our community of the opportunity of the skills and benefits of many asylum seekers who want to come to this country to contribute to our economy and our lives.
The issue for the government will be that it's got out of hand, that it's not illegal to claim asylum in this country. You're absolutely right, but there are irregular methods of entry. People are arriving in the country on small boats. It is dangerous, and that feeds into the hands of people smugglers, people traffickers. The number of the number of asylum applications has absolutely skyrocketed. There are quadruple the number of asylum applications in 2022 than there were in 2010. So there are more people coming over to claim asylum than ever before. And many people will say, Jeremy, it has got out of hand. We can't keep continuing to sustain escalating numbers. That's why we're in the shameful position that there are, 138,000 or so people in a backlog right now, as you say, surviving on £5 a day. Surely we have to draw the line somewhere.
There were 75,000 applicants made in 2022. That puts us 20th on the list of European countries where people have sought asylum in any particular country. It is a number that is the equivalent of the attendance at one Premier League football match, roughly speaking, a big one, over a whole year. And so I think the exaggeration of numbers is often part of the problem, but it's also recognizing why people seek asylum. Now, I was interested in this. So I went to Calais to meet people that are seeking asylum in this country. And what I met was desperate people who have come from Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Iraq, and so on, all places where there's been wars. And I would not willingly get into one of those boats. You wouldn't willingly get into one of those boats. You have to be absolutely desperate to do that. And what they explained to me was the racism they were suffering from the far right in Calais, the abuse they were getting from the French police, and in many cases they had family connections or in Britain, so they would be eligible anyway. So surely we should recognise we have responsibilities under every piece of international
Jeremy,
law
is
to
unlimited resources for this, and there are many people, many communities in the UK that have a real problem with asylum seekers, with the number of people coming into this country, not only the dangerous routes, but also the fact that they feel, and this is their right to express these opinions, they feel that their communities are weakened because of the number of people, asylum seekers coming into their communities. They would say traditionally taking their jobs. It is a problem for voters, and it's getting to a point where it's getting out of hand. So, I mean, what would your proposal be on this? How do we make this situation better so that we don't have to rely on an illegal migration bill sending people to Africa?
We have safe routes for people to seek asylum coming from war zones such as Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Syria, where we ourselves have been involved in pumping arms into the situation or sending troops to fight in those situations. We were 20 years in Afghanistan, and we've left behind a country of devastation and poverty where there are many people seeking to get out as their only means of survival. We have some responsibilities here that we should just own up to. Secondly, the number of people seeking asylum all across Europe is very small compared to the number seeking asylum in other parts of the world. Refugee flows are because of environmental considerations in some cases, human rights abuses in the case of others, or the cases of victims of war. Then just think for a moment of the economic issues facing this country. We have a labour shortage, we have a skill shortage, we have 100,000 vacancies in the National Health Service, and we don't allow people who seek asylum to work. And as you quite rightly pointed out, there are over 100,000 applications that have not been dealt with by the Home Office. How many of those people could be our teachers, our engineers, our doctors, our nurses, our care workers, our street cleaners, all
Yeah.
kinds of
We
jobs
don't,
could be done
I
by
mean,
them. We have a labour shortage in Britain,
we
so
currently do
maybe we
not,
can solve it.
we currently do not have the system to support that kind of number. And that's why you'll hear about migrants being put on barges and in former army accommodation, hurtled together, thrown into large facilities to be looked after. There is an issue, and what's happening here at the moment is it's not working. Tell me more about your plan. So we obviously have certain safe and legal routes already, but obviously that is not working for those, let's say the 45,000 odd last year who came over on small boats. Why not?
It's not working because the system is simply not available to people. If you are an asylum seeker in France and you want to come to this country because you want to contribute to it or you have family here or something else, how are you going to get on a plane or a boat or a train to get here? You simply will be stopped at immigration at that point. And so what we have all across Europe is quite a few thousand people who are itinerants leading a life of poverty. They're therefore victims of crime or can be enticed into all kinds of bad things because they have no other means of survival. History is not going to be looking kindly at the overall European response towards desperate people when we should be looking at the causes of asylum in the first place. That's why I refer to what's happened in Afghanistan and Iraq. And we have some responsibility to try and alleviate and improve those conditions and provide some degree of safety for people who are seeking asylum. Listen, how many thousands of people have died in the Mediterranean over the past 10 years? Over 500 died in a boat accident, well, a boat sinking off the coast of Greece. And quite a lot have already died in the
Yeah.
English Channel. Let's have a humanitarian response to people that are utterly desperate.
But that does rely on working with other countries, some of whom
It does.
have no appetite of working with us. And you could say, well, the government's, tried to do this by dealing with other nations in a diplomatic way, but it hasn't worked. And
A fair
they
point.
feel,
There has to be, yeah.
as do communities here, feel that it's getting out of hand, and the government need to address that because it is a key concern for voters. We know that. Well, look,
fair point about cooperation with other countries. If I just finish on this point, I'm a member of the Council of Europe. I'm part of the UK parliamentary delegation to it, and I'm a member of the Migration Committee. And I meet MPs from all countries across Europe. It's not an EU institution. It's for all European countries who send parliamentary representatives there. The only two European countries not represented there are Russia and Belarus. So there's quite a wide range of opinion. And there is an appetite amongst MPs to work together on this. There is an appetite to say, well, actually, safe routes and settlement, as Germany has shown, can be of human and economic benefits. But instead, we seem to be going down a road of spending a great deal of money putting people in awful conditions on barges or very poor quality hotels when we should be looking at the opportunities of those people's lives, the skills that they offer us, and something that's more humane and actually of benefit to our economy rather than just a cost.
And if you enjoyed that, you can listen to me, Kate Borsay, every evening, Monday to Thursday, 8 until 10 on the evening edition on Times Radio.